Hey everybody, my name is Justin. Welcome back to my pit lane garage. Guess what time of year it is? The race season is over for our summer championship events. It is now the race off season, and you know what we do in the off season? It's time to upgrade our cars, and we're starting off with something big for my Subaru BRZ. Alright, so what's going on today for the Subaru BRZ upgrades? We're going to be doing the suspension, as you've probably guessed by the video title. So in a moment we're going to go back on my bench, we're going to unbox the new parts, show you what we've got, but first I'm going to talk a little bit about why am I even upgrading the suspension on the car, because it already has a pretty decent set of suspension as it is. Now what we have on there right now is the Race Comp Engineering Tarmac T2 coilover suspension system. It's been a great suspension system. I really loved it. I've had it on two cars over these past 2 years, as you know, my 2017 BRZ as well as my old 2013 FRS. Both cars had the same Tarmac 2 coilovers and they worked great. I had no issues with them whatsoever. Highly recommended. They are kind of a mid to low, maybe mid-range suspension system. They'll cost you about $2,000, give or take 100 or so, but overall a good setup. They're internal reservoir systems, whereas my new system from Motion Control Suspension is a big upgrade in the fact that it is a remote reservoir based system, which has its own benefits and maybe some cons. I'm not really sure of any, but we're gonna try out this new suspension, see how it goes. I'm not expecting the new suspension to suddenly make me seconds quicker or tenths of a second quicker in autocross or seconds quicker on the track, that kind of thing. It's mostly to try out something new. I've always had internal type suspension, internally damped type of suspension in the past. Never had a remote reservoir type of system. And a lot of people I know use MCS, had good experiences with them, both on track cars as well as autocross cars. So we're gonna give it a go. And MCS is helping us out, supporting the pit lane. And I think it should be a good upgrade for the car. All right, so the cat is now kind of out of the bag. What we're going to be unboxing is Motion Control Suspension, two-way adjustable suspension, just like my Race Comp Tarmac 2s, but these ones have the remote reservoirs, of course. So we'll get into the box here, show you what is inside, and see how things look. I'm pretty excited about this. As you guys know, I love suspension components, and the shocks and the springs, the dampers is kind of the core of your suspension system. And you know, a lot of people like turbos and power, and I like that stuff too, but suspension systems are what really get me excited and what I love doing on the cars. All right, so the dampers are all wrapped in bubble wrap tape. I think what I'll do is I'll pull these things out and lay them out on the table here, and then we'll get into the bags themselves.
Oh yeah.
Try to make some room here on my little bench. This one feels like a rear shock because it's much, much lighter. All right, we got everything laid out on the table. 4 shock packages and a box back here. We'll start off with these packages.
Package 1. It's covered in about 2 or 3 layers. You just have to really pull it out and you gotta rip it. So we're gonna get it out. Here we got, tell everybody what this is and I'll get the rest.
Alright, so this first front shock is about out. The first thing I notice is the large shock shaft. A whole lot larger than the one that's on my Race Comp suspension. And of course you have the remote reservoir as well. This is kind of the key to the system. You actually have your compression adjustment on the front of the reservoir knob. And then your rebound adjustment would be on the top of the shock shaft. There's a little nut head or bolt head here for it. There's probably an adjuster inside the other box there, I would imagine, which we'll get to in a second. But pretty sweet looking. I'm pretty excited about these things. All right, front shock number 2, going to be same as the first. We've got our reservoir and the shock itself. All right, moving on to the back shock. We'll see what these guys look like. Usually they're not quite as exciting as the front suspension, but more or less the same.
They just have 2, and they're both wrapped in these green things.
Now with the green covers, you have fashion accessories for your children as well. So we'll take a closer look at the back shock. Very nicely built and machined parts. Thick shock shaft again, of course. It looks like it's even got a bearinged bottom mount there. And of course our remote reservoir for the rear as well. The other rear shock has been opened up, nothing too exciting there, so we're not going to show you that. We'll get into the box of parts here. Looks like we have instructions and a sticker pack. Top hats for the shocks. And it looks like an assortment of the spring perches for both of the shocks, front and rear. The rear top hats. And then lastly, we have a package with an assortment of nuts and bolts, shims, looks like the rebound adjusters for the tops of the shocks. And I didn't get my springs for some reason. I had ordered new springs front and rear for the kit as well, so we'll have to follow up and see where those are. They might be just coming in a different box and didn't fit in the shock package box. Let's take a look at the kit laid out on the tool bench. It comes with pretty much everything you need to install the suspension. Obviously I'm missing the springs and I'll need to reuse the rear shock mounts from my existing suspension. And if you looked closely at the reservoirs with the kit, you will have noticed there is an air valve on one side, which actually allows you to tune the pressure in those valves, which in effect changes the spring rate of the shocks, which is a very, very cool feature. All right, everybody, I think that is gonna do it for this quick video. We've got the baller MCS suspension. We're gonna see how it helps me out on the 2017 BRZ. But first, we've got to get the suspension installed, so of course, stay tuned for that. It will be coming up here real soon. And we've got some other projects coming up. I have a few more surprises for the BRZ this off season that of course I'll be sharing with you guys out there. I might even bring in the BMW for some upgrades as well. I gotta do another video on that car and kind of talk about what my plans are, what my thoughts are on the direction we're gonna go with that car in the future. But for now, MCS suspension on the BRZ. Hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, if you have any thoughts or comments, please leave them down below. I would love to hear from you. So stay fast out there, everybody. We're trying to get faster over here. I am checking out. We'll talk to you all next time.